Hi everyone, this is Mike Fitz, your resident naturalist with Explore.org, and I'm standing at Brooks Falls. We're starting to get ready for Bearcam season. The cams aren't live yet, but we're doing a test of some of our equipment right now. And when I came up to the falls, I was actually surprised to see a bear fishing the waterfall right now. So let's take a look and see who that is. I'm going to try to pan in here just a little bit. This is an adult male. His number is 634, and he's nicknamed Popeye. He got that nickname when he was a young bear, first identified in 2002, I believe. He was an older subadult bear at the time, which means he wasn't fully mature, but he was almost an adult, so probably around 4 or 5.5 years old at the time. And that means right now he's approaching 20 years of age. So he's an older bear, an experienced bear. We don't see him at the falls all the time, but he's one of those bears that we can expect to see at Brooks River somewhat frequently. I'm here at Brooks Falls to do live broadcasts. So if there are hiccups, don't worry. That's why we're doing it right now, so we can get some of the bugs out of the system. And this is Mike, your resident naturalist with Explore.org. And we're doing some testing of our equipment at Brooks River in Katmai National Park, Alaska. Bearcam season is coming up very, very soon. Probably just within a matter of days, although we don't have a set time for when the cams go live. So we're testing some equipment right now. I'm standing on the wildlife viewing platform at Brooks Falls, and we're looking at a bear in the river right now. So let's switch the camera around and take a look at who it is. This is an adult male that we're seeing in the waterfall right now. This is number 634 Popeye. He got that nickname when he was a younger bear. He had big furry forearms at the time, so hence the nickname. It's not so noticeable right now. but he was first identified around 2002 as an older subadult, which would mean he was fully mature, but he was probably around 4 or 5 years old at the time, and he was just chasing a fish there. He was very hungry at this time of the year. Bears are. So he's an older bear, an experienced bear, probably approaching 20 years of age. And again, this is just the test of our live chat equipment. Again, my name is Mike Fitz, resident naturalist with Explore.org. I also used to be a park ranger at Katmai National Park in Alaska, where I am standing now. You know, we're having a little bit of audio issues and some buffering, so we're going to try to work through that. We lose the sound here in just a moment. That's because I am tweaking some stuff. And if you are just tuning in and you can hear me, this is Mike Fitz with Explore.org. We are just testing some live chat equipment to host live broadcasts on this summer from Brooks Falls in Katmai National Park, Alaska. One bear fishing at the waterfall right now. Maybe the first bear to try to fish here this year. This is number 634 Popeye. He's one of the older adult males that we have in the area. Island, downstream of the falls. Now you might be able to see its head poking up, so it's just grazing on some grass right now. That bear I don't quite recognize, which happens quite a lot at this time of the year for me. The last time I saw these bears, they were at their peak fall weight, so their coat color was different. They were carrying a much greater level of body fat on them, so they've lost a lot of weight. And with some of the bears, especially the younger and smaller bears, it takes me a little bit of time to try to figure out who's who yet. The bear on the island right now is grazing on a lot of the fresh green grass that's growing there. Younger bears can actually make a living on vegetation a lot easier than the big adult males. A big adult male like Popeye is probably not worth his while to graze on vegetation, although he will. He'll certainly do it, but they're not going to be able to really gain body mass from that because their metabolism is just so high, and they need so much energy to begin with. But those younger bears, since they're smaller and their energy needs are lower, can actually start to gain weight back at this time of the year by grazing on fresh vegetation. While that bear grazes, Popeye looks like he's going to try to fish in a different spot. So he's moving towards the island, and that other bear just caught a glimpse of him and took off. We missed it on camera since I panned over. But that other bear wanted nothing to do with this big adult male. And again, my name is Mike Fitz, resident naturalist with Explore.org. I'm also a former park ranger at Katmai National Park, Alaska. We're just testing some live chat equipment for the upcoming Bearcams season, which is going to start very shortly. Now we're watching an adult male walking on the island downstream of Brooks Falls. So I was just talking about how, it's not really worth the big adult male's time to graze on vegetation. One thing that I find fascinating find bears at Brooks River at this time of the year takes quite a bit of patience and a little bit of luck. I didn't expect the bear to be at Brooks Falls when I came up here to test the equipment this afternoon. But bears are dispersed throughout the area right now because the salmon have just begun to arrive here, and the bears are usually they usually lag behind the initial burst of salmon into Brooks River. And we've had some fish moving through, but not very many. So the word hasn't quite got out yet to other bears that they might be successful if they come out here and they're patient when they're fishing. It's also the mating season for brown bears too. So a lot of bears are occupied with other tasks besides fishing right now. It's a short and somewhat intense mating season, and it really only lasts about 6 weeks. And it'll end fairly shortly. And right now, that if you're tuning in, just kind of wondering what we're looking at, this is one male brown bear on an island downstream of Brooks Falls. This is a fairly large adult male. Right now, he's just grazing on some vegetation. He was fishing at the waterfall earlier, but had not been successful. So now he's, I guess, looking for just a little bit of variety in his diet. And again, this is a test of our live chat equipment here at Brooks Falls. My name is Mike Fitz with Explore.org. Hi everyone, it's me again, Mike Fitz, the resident naturalist with Explore.org, the world's largest live nature cam network. Just testing some equipment for our live broadcast. We're going to do many of them on the Bearcams this summer. So right now, let's do a little bit of an impromptu play-by-play. We'll just talk about the brown bear that I see behind me fishing and grazing near Brooks Falls. And a few of you might have been watching for a while. But if you're just tuning in, I'm going to recap which bear we're looking at right now. This is an adult male, and he's one of the older adult males that we know of along the river. He's probably about 20 years old. His identification number is 634, and his nickname is Popeye. He got that nickname because he has big, furry forearms, or at least he did when he was a younger bear. He was fishing at the waterfall earlier. It looks like now he's taking a break on the island, so we can't see him too well. If you look on that island, sort of on the left side of the island, towards the middle of your screen, there's a dead willow on there. R.I.P. Willow. That willow used to be alive, but the bears used it one too many times to mark their presence in the area. And he is right behind that willow right now. I can zoom in just a little bit. I'm not sure we're going to be able to see him any more clearly, though, as I do zoom in. It might be pixelated for you. But again, we'll take a look at the video. We'll see how the experience is for everybody. And these sort of things will help us to fine-tune our broadcasts for later this summer. There was another brown bear here earlier today. In fact, maybe 20 minutes ago, maybe less. It was also on the island. It was grazing on vegetation. Then it saw Popeye here walk over, and it decided to avoid him completely. And that's how most interactions between bears end up playing out. It's avoidance. It's not an all-out fight. The younger, smaller bears know that it's risky, it's dangerous to confront older and larger bears. So most of the time they choose discretion and end up avoiding the approach of larger bears. We're just starting to see the first wave of sockeye salmon moving into the river right now. Excuse me, I know the camera movement is going to be a little shaky for a while as I turn here. So while Popeye's resting on the island, we'll take a look at Brooks Falls. Brooks Falls is a 6, some places maybe 8-foot high waterfall, so it's a formidable barrier for sockeye salmon. And that's the majority of the fish that we see jumping the waterfall. They are sockeye. Sometimes called red salmon. I think in the Columbia River watershed, sometimes they're called blueback salmon. There have been a few jumping today, not very many, but we've definitely had pulses of salmon moving through. Most of the fish that jump the waterfall are going to jump from the jacuzzi, that plunge pool that's sort of at the lower center part of your screen. They use the hydraulic in that part of the waterfall to give themselves a bit of a boost to make that leap. Right above the jacuzzi on the top of the waterfall is a popular place for bears to fish, and we call that the lip. Bears will stand there and they'll wait for salmon to jump into their mouths. Both of those places take a lot of skill to fish, the jacuzzi and the lip. You have to be quick, have sharp reflexes, and both pose slightly different challenges. The jacuzzi, you can't see the fish in the water. So really, when bears are fishing the jacuzzi, they're doing nothing but just sitting there and waiting for fish to bump into them. So they're using their feel or sense of touch more than anything else. On the lip of the waterfall, the bears are, of course, using their coordination and their sight to catch salmon leaping into their mouths. And that certainly is not an easy task. These salmon weigh 4 to 8 pounds, sometimes more. One of the things that I like to help people relate to the strength and skill that it takes to catch a leaping salmon in your mouth is, if you were to imagine somebody throwing a 5-pound sack of flour at your face, and expecting you to catch it in your mouth. I mean, that's kind of basically what bears are doing when they're standing on the lip of the waterfall. All right. Popeye looks like he is really settled in now. So he is on the island just behind that dead willow, resting there, maybe looking for the next wave of fish to move up into this area. Fish don't move through here consistently, so that you will throughout the season see waves of salmon moving through Brooks River. Some days there will be so many fish here that it almost looks like you could walk on them. There's so many fish in the water. The water is boiling with them. And then there could be other times, even during the peak of the salmon run, that are like this, where there are very few or almost no fish at Brooks Falls. So change and variety, those are two things that we can look forward to witnessing this season on Bearcam. Again, we're just testing some live chat equipment. See if we can fine-tune some of the audio and video. And I'm also working with some new broadcast software currently. So just getting to know it a little bit. I'm going to try to switch between a couple of views here, just to see how that works. We'll go back to the live shot. This is Brooks Falls from a couple evenings ago. This is yours truly. This is Churchill, Manitoba, where I was last fall. We'll go back to Brooks Falls. Brown bears aren't the only thing, of course, that depend on salmon. Really, the whole ecosystem is more productive and healthier because of these fish. Salmon really are the keystone of Katmai's ecosystem. It's hard to overstate their importance to this place. And the birds that you're seeing around right now, flying through the screen, that merganser that just landed, they're not feeding on adult salmon. The merganser might be looking for salmon smolt running to sea, maybe catching some small salmon fry. The gulls are waiting for bears to catch salmon so they can scavenge pieces of those meals. The numbers of bald eagles increase along the river when the salmon are running. Ravens, magpies. I've even seen songbirds and mallards feeding on dead salmon. So if you can put it in your stomach and you can digest it, in this ecosystem, you can bet that organism is feeding on salmon in some way. Again, I'm coming to you live from Brooks River in Katmai National Park, Alaska. This is Brooks Falls, world-famous Brooks Falls. It's not uncommon to see a dozen brown bears fishing for here in July, and we're starting to see more and more brown bears coming to the river right now to see whether the salmon have arrived. So we're not nearly close to the peak numbers of bears here, but we can expect to see more bears showing up each and every day. And it's not uncommon either to see a bear just sitting and waiting at the waterfall right now, knowing that this is about the time of the year for salmon to show up. Bears, of course, get very eager to fish for salmon. I mean, they've essentially been starving since they went into their dens last October and November. And the springtime season can be particularly hard on bears because there's not a lot of nutritious and caloric food, more importantly, for them to eat. So a bear like Popeye right now, who's on the island, it's hard to see him right behind those dead sticks and branches on the island. A bear like Popeye right now could be at his lowest weight of the year. But once he has a few salmon meals in his belly, he'll be able to start to regain that weight fairly quickly. There's so many different things that I find fascinating about brown bears. One of them is that they have to eat a year's worth of food in 6 months or less to survive. So being patient, being efficient is really a characteristic that we end up seeing in a lot of these bears. And they're also prone to taking a lot of naps. And right now Popeye is just resting there on the island. We might see him move back into the water at some point today, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got up and decided to take a nap in the forest or just stay on the island for a few hours resting. I know many of you are quite eager to watch the Bearcams live, and they will be going live. Trust us, we're working hard here to get them up and running. So it's really only a matter of time before that happens. I hope you've enjoyed this little bit of a preview of Brooks Falls. If you're tuning in at the right time, you could, work through the snafus of this, the test of this live chat equipment from Brooks Falls and Katmai National Park, Alaska. Again, my name is Mike Fitz, your resident naturalist with Explore.org. I'm going to end the broadcast right now, but please do stay tuned in. Because we will be updating everyone through comments in the chat periodically, so check back in the comments below the live feed from time to time. We'll be happy to try to answer your questions and let you know about the progress to get the Bearcams live for this season. I'm actually really excited for the Bearcam season. There's a lot of storylines that I want to share with you, and a lot of different things that I think we will enjoy watching together this year. So I'm going to end the broadcast right now, but we'll be back online, myself or the Cat Mike Conservancy Rangers, who will also be doing a Bearcam broadcast with me this summer. So please stay tuned for updates from all three of us when we are